because Mr. T was in the army, like he had like army veterans, is that why you joined the army?
Yeah, that's...
Because it was a big inspiration.
Yeah, the A-Team TV show inspired me to want to join the army.
Yeah. Do you know when you were traumatised about your experience in the army after the 15 years of like seeing all that? Would you like go back now and like not go to the army and start like trying to pick up different hobbies?
No, I wouldn't.
Are you happy the way that it's like turns out?
Yeah, because you know, I'm a great believer in things happen for a reason. You know, we all make mistakes, right? But the best thing about mistakes is that you can learn from those mistakes, and it's about keep on going forward, and never forget that it doesn't matter whether other people don't believe in you. It's about you believing in you. That's the most important thing.
Welcome to our KidsKast podcast, where we take control and speak about our guests' life and their struggles. And today, we have Jay with us. Why don't you introduce yourself, Jay?
Okay, my name's Jay Wheeler. I'm an ex-soldier, and I'm now doing artwork. I live in Liverpool, and I've got a rescue dog called Fudge, who's a British bulldog.
What are your future aspirations?
My future aspirations? To try not to make as many mistakes as I did when I was young. That's one. And also just to kind of just to have more of a positive outlook on life itself, you know. Like I said, I'm doing artwork at the moment, and I'd like that artwork to kind of reach as many people and as far as possible, really, you know.
So if you had one message and you said it and it goes like worldwide, what would that one message be that you want everyone to know?
Love is stronger than hate.
Okay.
Because it is. Love is definitely stronger than hate. I think if we show a lot more love and compassion towards each other as human beings, I think a lot of good things can be achieved.
Yeah.
I think in this current day and age, there's a lot of selfishness that kind of goes around, and I think, you know, if we stop being so selfish and we sort of it's just about showing love and respect to other people. You know, you want to be showing love and respect. And it's the same thing, you know.
Yeah, because you don't know what other people are going through.
Yeah.
What is something on your bucket list?
What is what, sorry?
What's something on your bucket list?
My bucket list? Okay, so I've got one thing on my bucket list, and that's to meet Mr. T. And I don't think you guys know Mr. T? No? Mr. T was in an 80s TV show called The A-Team, and it was a really big show. And for me, like as a child, I used to get beaten quite a lot by my mum, but for an hour a week, I would sit down and watch this TV program that I loved, and it was The A-Team, and I'd be left alone, you know, to just enjoy this show. And what was good about the show is they were veterans, army veterans, but they helped people in need. And Mr. T has always tried to guide young people in the right direction. And I've just been a fan of his all my life. I was quite lucky a couple of years ago because I follow him on Twitter, and I'm always leaving comments and stuff on his posts. And he replied, and he said, "Thank you for showing me love and support, constant love and support." So I printed it off and got it framed, and it's at home now. And that's really good because he doesn't really reply to people, but through God, you know, he kind of made it happen. But I would love to just have 10 minutes with him and just, you know, meet him and talk to him.
So, you know, because Mr. T was in the army, like he had like army veterans, is that why you joined the army?
Yeah,
because it was a big inspiration.
Yeah, the A-Team TV show inspired me to want to join the army.
Yeah.
You got to remember, at that time, I was, I think I was 12 or something like that. And at that time, I wanted to join the police. Since I was a little boy, I always wanted to join the police. But the TV show, kind of gave me the idea about wanting to join the army. Yeah.
Are there any moments in your life that you'd like to relive?
I feel like when I was in junior school, I used to get bullied quite a lot, and so I'd go to school and get bullied, then I'd come home, and then I'd get beaten. Because in a sense I was brought up in a violent sort of environment, and when I got to senior school, I said to myself, I'm not gonna be bullied anymore, so I need to stand up for myself. And what I did, standing up for myself, if someone hit me, then I would hit them back, and I got used to that idea of fighting and putting violence on someone else. If I could go back to it now, I wouldn't want to use the violence. I think I just want to stand up for myself, yes, but not be violent with it. Because you learn from your mistakes as you get older and wiser. And that was a big mistake for me, about reflecting violence onto someone else. Just because I had been treated with violence, I sort of felt it was okay to give out violence, and it wasn't.
So if there was something that you were taught in your childhood, like, what would you want it to be?
Wow, that's a good question. If there was something
that you were taught in your childhood, like most parents say, if someone hit you, hit them back. Like, if there was some sort of message like that you were taught in your childhood, what would you want it to be?
About not using violence. I wish I could have said to my mum, who's no longer here, but I wish I could have said to her, or maybe I wish I could have asked her and said, why do you feel that you have to treat us, in such a bad, violent way? I guess so. Yeah.
Have you always wanted to be an artist?
No, like I said, when I was really young, I wanted to join the police, and the reason I wanted to join the police was because my older brother was always getting into trouble with the police, and so the police were frequently coming to our house. So for me as a young boy to see this policeman, it just sort of inspired me in a sense. And the only reason I wanted to join the police was to help people, right? But unfortunately, when I'd left senior school and I got into fighting in a big way, and I got arrested numerous times, and what I got community service through the courts and fines, and then what really broke the camel's back was I got sent to a young offenders for 9 months, and that really woke me up to who I am and what I was doing. And I've said to a few people, when you're in that environment, your freedom's taken away from you. I adapted to the surroundings because I think I'd become stronger, and also I wasn't going to let anyone walk over me. But it was the freedom being taken away from me, and I'm running away with this answer now. So you're going to have to tell me to just shut up, Jay. You're just going on and on. But when I came out of the young offenders, I remember walking from the wing to the main gate, and the prison officer said to me, he says, let's not see you back in here. And I looked him in the eye and I says, I'm never coming back to a place like this ever again. And then what I did, I thought, well, how can I still help people, through work? And I thought, you know what, I'm going to join the army. That's what I'm going to do. But at the time, because I had a criminal record for fighting, I couldn't apply to the army for 5 years. So within them 5 years, I just did different jobs, like window fabricator and things like that.
Kept yourself busy.
Yeah, and then the 5-year mark came, which allowed me to apply to the army, and because I'd only been convicted for fighting and stuff, I told them, and they said, look, we can still take you on. So that for me was something. It was brilliant because I knew I could go and do what I initially wanted to do, was help people. So that's why I joined the army. Because I remember going in the careers office and the guy said to me, he said, what do you want to do in the army? And I said, I just want to help people. And I said, I want to drive. And then the guy said, do you want to drive a tank? And I was like, yeah, I'll drive a tank. And it started from there. And I remember going back home because my mum, she never supported us. She couldn't have cared less what we were doing. And I remember going back and saying to her, we're joining the army, Mum. And she wasn't bothered. And then I went off and did this 24-hour selection in Lichfield, and I passed it. And then I had to get a date to when basic training was going to start. So I was the morning I was leaving to go into basic training, I said to my mum, I says, right, that's me. I'm going. I'm going off to join the army. And she said to me, yeah, I'll see you in a couple of weeks then, as if to say, you won't do it. You won't do it. And I went on basic training, and that was for 3 months. And at the end, in basic training, you get several awards, right? And you can get them for like best PT. You can get it for best shot when you're on the range, shooting your rifles. There's like a best improved, and then the main one was best recruit. So a couple of days before our passing out parade in front of family and friends, they said, right, who's going to win? Who's going to get these awards? And I thought I was going to maybe be in a chance with best shot, because when I first started shooting, I was really rubbish. Like I couldn't hit nothing. But as time went on and progress, and then I got to be good at it. And they said, I gave out all the names for the other awards, and they went, and I was like, oh, never mind. I'm not really bothered. And then they went best recruit, Trooper Wheeler. So I was like, wow, because you can't go higher than the best recruit. And I remember saying to my troop corporal, I was like, wow, I was shocked. I didn't even know I was going to get that. And he said to me, he said, look, because I when I was in training, I was never good at anything. Like, there wasn't one specific subject that I was really good at. I was really very average. But he said, look, the reason we put you down for best recruit is because when we were given tasks, I would complete my task, and then if I saw someone struggling, I would go over and say, and give them a helping hand, because that's what the army is about. It's about teamwork. It's not about individuals. It's about teamwork. And I got it. And then what the army did, they informed my mum, and they said, he's got best recruit. Come to the passing out parade, and she never came, and I was like, yeah, okay. And what's mad is that when I won the best recruit, they took a photo of you with your walk with the trophy and stuff, and they put it in your local newspapers and things like that. And I thought that would have maybe inspired my mum to say, wow, I didn't expect him to even do that. And she didn't. And then I went off, I did my phase 2 training, and then I got sent out to Germany, where my regiment was based, and my first operational tour, I joined in 97. My first operational tour was in 1999 to Kosovo. And when I was in Kosovo, I wrote my mum a letter and said, look, I just want you to be proud of what I'm doing, that's all, I need you to try and understand where I was and where I am now. And she never wrote back to me or anything like that. And there was a time when I just felt, you know what, it's about me now. Like, I can continue to try and want my mum's support, but if it's not coming, I need to just move on, and that's what I decided to do. I was in the army for 15 years. I did 5 operational tours, 2 Kosovo, 2 Iraq, 1 Afghanistan. And throughout those 15 years, not once did I pick up a paintbrush or a spray can, because, when I was in school, I enjoyed art, but I wasn't really good at it. So art really never came into my head at all during that time in the army whatsoever. It only came when I became ill and ended up in hospital and stuff like that.
Do you know when you were traumatised about your experience in the army after the 15 years of seeing all that? Would you go back now and not go to the army and start trying to pick up different hobbies?
No, I wouldn't.
Are you happy the way that it turns out?
Yeah, because I'm a great believer in things happen for a reason, because joining the army for me, in my family, I believe my granddad did national service, but other than that, I've got an older brother and a younger brother, and no one in our household had done anything like that, so for me, joining the army was the best thing I could have done, because if I hadn't have joined the army, I honestly believe that I'd have been in and out of prison. I really do. I believe I'd have been in and out of prison for the rest of my life, and I didn't want that. But I also didn't want to be surrounded by negative people. My mum just thought I wasn't going to achieve anything in the army. My friends, my friends when I was in senior school were black, and I'm mixed race, so they were like, you can't join the army. What are you joining the army for? The army's no place for black people, and this, that, the other. And I'm just like, you know what? It's not about what you think. It's not about what you believe. It's about what I think. It's about what I believe. And I'm going, you know what? I'm going to join the army. And I'd never been out of Wolverhampton until I joined the army. I'd never been on a plane until I joined the army. Those 15 years, I achieved so much. Like I said, I did 5 operational tours. I was in the regimental cross-country team because I did a lot of running when I was a kid, and just followed it up. I was in the regimental orienteering team, which is like running around with a map and you've got to find all these certain locations. I did inter-squadron boxing, and which again I used my childhood, the fighting and stuff, where back then I was using it in a negative way. Now I was using it in a positive way, and the army sort of puts you in a safe environment to do that. I began as a driver on a tank, and I ended up going to the gunner's seat. So I was a gunner on a Challenger 2 main battle tank. Then I went from the gunner's seat to the operator's station, which is where you load the actual rounds into the barrel of a tank. And then you do that for a couple of years. And then I went on to the commander's station, where I had my own crew, and I commanded that vehicle. When I was in my second tour of Iraq, I taught Iraqi soldiers basic British military skills, because we were due to hand that security back over to the Iraqi army and police and stuff. And I got a brigadier's commendation for that. And I remember getting back to Germany. My squadron leader said, right, tomorrow you're going to pick up a brigadier's commendation. And I always thought brigadier's commendation you get if you jump on a bomb, or you save your friend from getting shot. And he said, it's because you taught the Iraqi army basic military, and so I achieved that. I achieved so much, and one thing as well. When I was before joining the army, I didn't know how to communicate with people, so my communication was done with fists. I didn't know how to talk to people. The army taught me how to communicate without violence. And I know you kind of think, well, you're in the army, and the army taught me to communicate in a way that didn't have to be violent. So yeah, in relation to the art question, it was only when I came back from Afghanistan that I had a massive breakdown, and I tried to take my life several times through different methods, and my close friend, she said, look, she'd come and visit me in psychiatric hospitals, and she said, look, God's not going to let you take your life. God's got a bigger plan for you, and it was when I was in psychiatric hospital that I was encouraged to use art as therapy. So I thought, I was in my first admission. I was in for like 3 months, and I didn't want to do anything. And they kept saying, "When it come down to the art room," and I was like, "I don't want to. I don't want to be alive, let alone sit here, and paint something." And then as time went on, I just thought, I'm going to be here for a while. Why not do some artwork? And I was like, well, what do I want to base it on? I want to base it on. And I thought, love. I'm going to base it on the word love, because although I may not have had that love when I was a child, I still knew what it looked like. But I wanted to use the art element and love and bring them together. And so that's what I did. I got the guy in the woodworking department in the hospital and said, will you make me a stencil that says the word love? Because I'm gonna go out when I get out of hospital. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna start spraying, and I've been doing it ever since. And it's first and foremost, it's my therapy, but secondly, it helps other people when people see it. I mean, you're walking through town or you're walking through your area, you just see the word love sprayed on the floor. It's something that will make you stop, look, and think, and that's what the whole objective is. I don't know. I personally don't know how to love, because I didn't see it as a child. I didn't grow up with it, and I still struggle now to accept love. But I can give it. I can give love and I can put it out there and stuff. I just can't take it on for me. Do you know what I mean? Does that answer that question? I said to you tonight, I'll just go on and on, so you need to reel me
in. What is something that you're grateful for today?
I'm grateful for being alive. I spent 2 years in and out of psychiatric hospitals. I used to pray to God that I wouldn't wake up. Sleeping was my saviour, because I didn't have to think. Because when I was in Afghanistan, we were getting shot at left, right, and centre. We had IEDs planted and bombers going off left, right, and centre. And I lost a really good friend, Zach, who we got ambushed. We were on a patrol and we got ambushed by the Taliban, and we had these personal radios so we could communicate with each other. And I remember all I could hear was heavy breathing and gargling, and then I realised, or we all realised, that Zach had been shot, and he literally died. You could hear him. His breath was getting shorter, and you could hear all of that, and he died. So when I came back from Afghanistan, it really affected me psychologically really, really bad. So that's why I just felt like I didn't want to be a part of society anymore. I didn't want to live. And by taking overdoses and I cut my wrists and tried to hang myself. I just didn't want to be alive at all. But now, and that was 2012. I got medically discharged from the army in 2013. Between 2013 and 2015, I was in and out of hospital trying to harm myself. 2015 was a bit of a turning point for me because I'd realised that God wasn't going to let me take my own life. So I decided to live where I just wasn't really eating. I wasn't looking after myself. I wasn't showering. I wasn't brushing my hygiene went out the window. My home became a horrible place. I used to bag rubbish and stuff, but just never take it to the bins. I used to just store it around my apartment, bags of rubbish. And then what I also started to do was I started weeing in empty milk bottles, and I was storing these milk bottles around my apartment. And it sounds disgusting and it sounds really dirty, but you got to understand, up until that point I'd never done anything like that. And I spoke with my therapist about it many times, but I think the weeing in the bottle thing, when we were in Afghanistan, we were based in the green zone, so we were in the thick of it. And at night time, or early hours of the morning, if you wanted to go for a wee, we had bottles, and it was safer to wee in the bottle in your tent than it was to go out the tent and go to the hole in the ground, because your life was in danger 24/7. Yeah, so I think when you walked through my front door, that's what you was greeted with bags and bags of rubbish, bottles and bottles of wee, and flies. I trashed my home. I sprayed derogatory things about myself on my walls and stuff. And I lived like that for about a year and a half. And what changed that was my front door was never really 100% secure, because the police had kicked it in quite a few times to welfare checks and all that, and saved my life. And then what I did, I remember going into town, I went spraying. And I came back, and I was walking down my corridor. I could see my door was ajar, and I went in, and going back to the A-Team, I collect the A-Team toy memorabilia, which dates from 1983 to 1987, and all that was upstairs on my bed with a quilt over it, because I was living on the couch downstairs in the living room, and everything, my life was that couch. And so I thought, well, that's a bit strange with the door being ajar. And I remember going upstairs. No, in fact, I came into my kitchen, and there was like a carrier bag on my breakfast table, and there was bits of my stuff in there. And I'm like, so then I goes upstairs, and I got burgled basically, and they took some of the toys and stuff. And it's quite funny, because if you'd have walked through my front door at that time, like what I did, when it happened, I knew that someone had now seen how I was living, because my friends, I used to make excuses for my friends not to come and visit me, and if someone rang the intercom, I would just ignore it, because I didn't want nobody coming into my home. But when that happened, when I got burgled, I realised that, wow, someone's finally seeing how I've been living and stuff. So because of that, I thought, I'm going to phone the police then, because I've been burgled. And I phoned the police, and the police officer came, and he said to me, as soon as he came in, he was more concerned about how I was living than the fact that I'd just been burgled. And he said, he said, what's going on here? And I said, well, never mind, no, I've been burgled. And then what he did, he then went back to the police station, and I got some other police officers come out, like a burglary section guys. They came out, and they saw how I was living. And then what they did, they got in touch with a military charity called SAFA, and SAFA help ex-services and current services, really throughout the military. And that's when my life sort of changed, because SAFA came and said, look, we're going to help you, and that's how it went. And in 2015, it's quite an ironic story. In 2015, I went out spraying, and I got arrested for someone had seen me spraying, so they called the police, and the police found me. And on the way to the police station, the police officer said, you don't remember me, do you? And I said, no. He said, I'm the one that took the noose around your neck. I'm the one that brought you back because I lost consciousness. And I'm like, wow. Got to the police station, and got interviewed. And at the end, the police officer said, it sounds like art has saved your life. And I said, it has. It literally has. And I think the arresting officer had said to the other guys in the station, this is the ex-services lad, the ex-army lad. So they let me off. They gave me a caution and let me off. But that was quite a weird one, because I didn't recognise that police officer whatsoever. But yeah.
What advice would you give to young people speaking up about their mental health problems?
I'd say, good on you, because that's what we need to do. Children, adults, we all need to be more open about talking about our mental health. I think in the past, we worry about stigma, we worry about what other people are going to think about us. And like I said earlier, we need to drop that, what other people think about us. We need to, it's about what we think about ourselves. And this is what I do. I go to schools, and I go to different mental health charities and things like that, and I tell my story, and it's open and honest. So if I'm honest about my mental health and how I used to live, surely that is going to encourage someone that's going through the same thing. I think with children, I think it can be more difficult to be open about it than adults, because I think the emphasis on young people is like, when you're young, we don't want to be, there's nothing wrong with me, like I'm not, because we're in fear of what our friends are going to think about us. And so I would say by far, being open and honest about your mental health, it's a grown up thing. It's something that we all need to do, because mental health isn't going away. Mental health has been around since God knows when. It's just that it was sort of covered, and I think of late people are being a lot more honest about their mental health, because mental health, it's dangerous. If you've got a bad mental health, it's dangerous, because you can go down the avenues of self-harm, you can go down the avenues of trying to commit suicide, because something's happening to you that you don't understand anyway. Even as an adult, you don't understand when you're going through a breakdown. So yeah, I would definitely say be more open about it. And in reality, we do live in a judgmental world, but you need to just kick that to the curb and just go, like, I'm struggling with my mental health, and you go find someone that can help you deal with it. But it's about you acknowledging that you've got, your mental health isn't good. It's not healthy. It's down to you to go boom and go to the relevant agencies, the relevant people, and say, I'm struggling. So yeah, and answer that question, I think we all need to be a lot more open. And the more open we are about mental health, the less we can reduce that stigma that comes with it. Because most people that have never experienced a bad mental health episode don't really understand it, because they can't see it unless like a physical, if your arm's missing or you're lost, people can see that. But when you're got all your limbs and you look fine, and the good thing about mental health is when you go through it, you're like the best actor, because you can pretend to the people around you, yeah, I'm good, everything's fine. But in reality, it's not. So I think if we more open and accept that, unfortunately, yeah, we live in a judgmental society, and some people will judge you. But like I said, you just kick them people to the curb, because it's not about what they think. It's about you. It's your life that's you're going through it. And I do believe now, like when I was in school, there was no like mental health liaison people or anything like that. And am I right in thinking that in schools now do you have like a centre point that you can go to someone if you're struggling psychologically?
Yeah, you go on like a waiting list for like a school mental.
Brilliant. So there's something in place then, which is good, because like I said, when I was a kid, there was nothing in place for that.
What's something that you like to do in your spare time?
Give my dog loads of fuss. And yeah, like I it's just me and my dog. I've got my family and my friends, but my spare time is filled with my dog and going out and spraying the love tag. That's my therapy as well, Did I answer that question? So what about you guys? What hobbies do you guys have?
I don't have one.
You must have one.
My phone.
Well, there you go, there's one. Your phone. And what about yourself?
Sometimes I do boxing, depends.
Oh, well in. Oh, nice one. Nice one. So how do you guys perceive mental health? Like, what does it mean to you?
Mental health really to me is just like, mental health is like affects you the worst, like when you're going through like a hard time. It just makes you feel bad, that's all I'm.
And would you feel confident in saying to your friend, I'm struggling mentally?
I've told her I was like struggling, like certain people yeah, but certain people like no.
But you have told someone?
Yeah.
And what about yourself?
I've told my mum and like Trudie. That's about it.
But you've told someone, you haven't kept it to yourself. So what do you want to do when you leave school? What would you like to be?
I don't know yet.
And how long you got left at school?
Like 3 years.
All right, okay. So you're still in a good place to kind of think about. And what about yourself?
I want to be a lawyer.
Oh, well, nice one. It's going to be hard work, but it'll be worth it once you've completed it. You don't have like a job in mind?
I had one job, but that was a midwife.
Okay, cool.
But I don't know if I like that anymore.
Okay. You should join the army. Would you join the army?
No.
No. Would you join the army?
No.
No. Would you join the police?
No.
No. Why wouldn't you?
I hate busies.
Do you? Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, listen. I get the whole police thing, but I've been really fortunate. I have, because the ones that I have been in contact with have always been really good at at what they do and stuff. Yeah. So like I do every time I leave my home, I never leave home without my spray cans and my stencil. So yeah, maybe we can do some spray painting now. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
Spray painted before?
No.
That's a doddle. It's like I always say, a spray can is like a perfume bottle. So you just know, don't you, by the pressure of your finger, you know just how much you want. And it's the same with a spray can. So yeah, get spray painted.
Thanks for coming in today, and thanks for informing us about your mental health problems and helping other people understand what you're going through.
You're very welcome. And can I just say as well, being in that environment as a young lad, and then the young offenders, and then the army, we all make mistakes, right? But the best thing about mistakes is that you can learn from those mistakes. And it's about keep on going forward, and never forget that it doesn't matter whether other people don't believe in you. It's about you believing in you. That's the most important thing. So it's been a pleasure doing this podcast with you. Fantastic questions. So just remember that you can make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but it's about how you deal with them, how you rectify them. All right? Cool.